This week's Parsha, the beginning of Parsha, talks about Parsha's Terumah, talks about bringing the different elements, the gold, the silver, etc., bringing them to Moshe. They gather all the material to build a Mishkan, to build a tabernacle in the desert. So the pasuk says, the verse says, from every single person, from what their heart desires, what their heart gives, you should take a truma, you should take a tithing and bring it to build and create the Mishkan, the tabernacle. So there's a teaching from the Baal Shem Tov like this. B'Shem Baal Shem, in the name of the Baal Shem. Haida, this means that every person should call Adam Tzarech L'Asis Eitzes B'Nafshi. Every single person should place and think in their life person should create positive attributes, midas toivas, positive deeds, positive attributes, positive emotions from every single emotion that they have, even from negative desires, and from negative desires that they're accustomed to. From these negative tendencies, they should take a path to serve Hashem. With that cheshek, with that same desire, and with that same yearning, with even a greater alacrity, with a greater intention. This is what it says in the name of the Baal Shem. So the first thing that the Baal Shem Tov is saying, from everything that a person desires, meaning that a person has to take a lesson from everything. That's the first. To look at life, look at your own self, and see in life, and everything that you see in your life, to see a way, a possibility how you can serve your Creator in a deeper way. So, for example, a person could look at, let's say, a thief. And this is what it says in Talmidei Baal Shem, from the students of Baal Shem. A person can look at a thief and say, look, a thief comes in the middle of the night, so he does things with tsenua. He does things with modesty. He's not showing off. He tries to be very quiet. Okay, so I should also be quiet. I should do things in a modest way. A thief, if he robs the first night and is not successful, will come back the next night. He never gives up. A thief will even take a small amount of money, so even a small amount of whatever I do, even a small amount is worth something. So that's learning from experience. But that's not only what the Baal Shem Tov is saying. The Baal Shem Tov seems to be saying that a person should mitaivas hachitzonius from negative or external desires. From that, a person you should use that same cheshek, that same desire, that same lust, and use that for avodas Hashem. That in itself should be transformed into service and higher spiritual work. What does this mean? Now, this teaching of the Baal Shem Tov is something the Baal Shem Tov said in many different ways, and it was understood in many different ways, because apparently the Baal Shem Tov said it in many different ways. It was also understood in very different ways, and it seems to be saying the same thing in various texts, but they're actually nuanced. There's nuanced ideas. One idea of this teaching, which is later going to be brought down in Baal Shem Torah, it's brought down from the Marinaim, it's brought down for others, is the idea of Halas Hamidus. Halas Hamidus means, it's brought down also by many of the Talmidim, many students of the Maggid. Halas Hamidus means that a person, let's say, a person is feeling lust. A person is feeling fear. It's a normal emotion that a human being possibly has. So a person has to meditate on this emotion and say, what is the root of fear? What is the root of this idea of lust? What does a person lust? A person lusts for a person lusts for money, or for an object. What's the root of this lust? The root of the lust is that there's a certain yearning that I have for something that's outside of me. That's connecting me, that's wanting me and telling me and desiring that wants something that I should connect to something outside of me. So what is the depth of this feeling? The depth of the feeling really is the Avos Hashem, is the love for Hashem. The love for Hashem means the love of the Allah to the Ilah, of the effect of its cause. The real root of all desire, the real root of any single desire that I have, superficially it appears to be that I'm desiring this object or this person, because there's a chesed within me, there's something missing within me, and I need to feel complete with that thing within me. So I'm yearning for something that's outside of me to make me complete. But the real reason why I'm having this feeling is because I am created as a nivra, which is a chesed. I'm created as a creation, which is inherently something that's a lack. And my completion comes when I'm connected with the Bar, with the Creator. And the ava, the love or the lust that you may be experiencing is an ava nefelas. It's like a lust that fell down, which means like it's a shallow form of the real experience. So why should I think about the superficial lust that I'm having towards this object or person? I should go to the depth of this feeling and understand that the depth of this feeling is really a lust and a love that I have for Hashem, that I want to have for Hashem, for the depth of my soul connected to the Creator. This is called halasim, this elevation of feelings. This was greatly debated by the students of the Maggid, between whether this was something that's appropriate for all people or only this is avodas tzaddikim, this is for the way of tzaddikim, which is another conversation, but not for now. That's one path. So it's Allah Samidus. The other idea is a similar idea, which is min hamurgosh ba'ala muskal. From the tangible, a person reaches the abstract, which means that the only way a person can be awakened to a certain feeling, a person wants to feel love of Hashem, wants to have a real feeling. It's not just an abstract idea. I love the concept of God. I want to connect, but I have a real feeling in my heart, just like my heart is pounding, and I have this feeling within my heart, a physical sensation within myself for Hashem. The way to do that is sometimes is to take a feeling that you're having already, something that's morgash, something that's a sensation that you're having, and to change that morgash into something that's muskal, into something that's abstract. It's another form of Allah Samidus, of elevating the thought. And the famous metaphor of this example is actually brought down long before the Baal Shem Tov. It's brought down in the Torah from the Reishis Chachma, a few hundred years before the Baal Shem, one of the Talmidim of the Ramak, where he talks about a simpleton that sees a princess, and he's a very simple man. He sees a princess and he falls in love with her. Obviously not falling in love with her, but he lusts for her, and he screams, "If only I can have a few minutes with you." And the princess says yes in the graveyard. And he's a very simple person. He thinks actually the princess is saying that he should go to the graveyard. So he sits by the graveyard, he's sitting there all day, and the princess is not showing up. Really, the princess said, like, over my dead body. But he understood this literally, because he understood the pshat of her words. That's the literal interpretation. And he sits there and he pines for this woman. And remember, he saw this woman in a glance. She passed. And he sits there 1 day, 2 days, and he's very faithful. He says, "I know the princess is going to show up." And the image of this woman that he was so infatuated with starts fading because he only saw her for 2 minutes. And he's infatuated with the idea of this woman and how he wants to be one with this woman, and he has such love for this woman. And slowly the image completely faded, and he's left with pure love. And that love became pure love for all of creation and for the Creator. This is the story ends. And the story ends that he becomes the greatest lover of humanity. And people from all over the world come to the graveyard to ask him for his blessing. So he comes from the murgash, Ela Muskal. He comes from the tangible, because he had a physical, tangible feeling, and that transcended a place into Muskal, to pure spirituality, pure connection, pure love. So one path is the elevation of the midos, the elevation of the attributes, to go to the depth of it, to get to the point of what's really love. Love is really the connection that I want between me and Hashem. The other one is to use that love to get the sensation that you're already feeling in your heart. Not to create it, but already that you're feeling, to get to a place of muskal, a place of abstraction, where you're feeling love, and it's a pure love that you have for Hashem. It's a similar teaching, but it's a little bit nuanced difference. There's a third teaching from the Baal Shem, which seems also in the same genre of teachings, which the Baal Shem teaches, and this is a teaching that is literally brought in Baal Shem Baal Torah. It's brought right after this teaching, 2 teachings later, from the Ben Paris Yosef, from the Toldos, one of the students of the Baal Shem, that says that sometimes you have to feed your lower self if you want your higher self to be more activated. So, for example, one example, the Baal Shem Tov says that if a person wants to wake up for Terumah Torah, a person wants to wake up in the middle of the night to say special prayers, so the body's going to be lethargic, the body's tired, the body doesn't want to get up. So you tell the body, you know what? There's a good sandwich, there's a good piece of 7-layer cake. I don't know if the body really needs this or wants it, but let's say you like these things. So it's 2 o'clock in the morning, you say, okay, I'm going to wake up, because you make your timer, because the body goes a little hungry and says, 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to get up for a sandwich. Okay. So why did the body get up? The body got up to get the sandwich. But once the body is already up, now you can do your spiritual work and do Tikkun Chatzos. So you're using the body sort of to get it out of the way. You're feeding the body. And the other example, the Baal Shem Tov uses a metaphor where there was a child of a king that didn't want to learn, and everything that was taught to him, he didn't want to learn, and he fell in love with a princess, with a beautiful woman, and the king said, okay, you know what, let the beautiful woman teach him. So, if you really want to be with me, you have to learn this. You really want me, you have to do that. And finally he became the wisest man. He said, I don't actually want to be with you anymore. So it was just it's a ploy in order to get to the place where you're in the right place. But there's no intention in the sensation itself. So this is a third interpretation. A very similar interpretation, but different. Again, one is the halasim, this elevating, to go to the depth of it. One is to come from the murgish and al-muskal, to come from the tangible to the abstract. And one is just to feed the body, so to appease the body and let it alone. Here the Baal Shem Tov is saying something even a little bit, even deeper. What the Baal Shem Tov is teaching here is a person has avas Hashem, love for Hashem. Okay, we're not going to talk about love, so we'll talk about, let's say, Yiras Hashem, the awe of Hashem. A person of Yiras Hashem, and then there's a person that has fear. Fear. Let's say you're lost in the middle of a bad neighborhood, or you're lost in the forest for some reason if you're living in New York, and you're lost. It's in the middle of the night. You don't know where. There's no GPS. You're not in a car. You're walking, and there's danger. There's real danger looming, and all of a sudden your body starts feeling a rush. Your heart starts palpitating. You're sweating. There's a real fear. The fear is felt not as an abstract fear. The fear is felt in the body. The body feels the fear, and because it goes into like a flight mode. It goes into a certain heightened awareness mode, and it's really focused now. And there's nothing else. You can't do anything else because you're totally in that mode. And the same thing also, a person can have a strong love or even lust, and hopefully it's in a positive context, and it's between a husband and wife, and the person has literally a physical sensation, and everything changes. The whole mechanism of the whole body changes, goes into a different type of reaction. This is physical, and then there's spiritual work. Then the spiritual avodah, the spiritual service, the spiritual avos Hashem, the love that a person has for Hashem, the pachad, the yira that a person has from Hashem, the awe of Hashem's presence, and the love of the feeling of connected. So the Baal Shem Tov says sometimes it's not equated, because the physical you really feel in the body. The body feels a sensation. When you talk about avos Hashem, you talk about a person davening. Do you feel that same sensation, the same love? Does your body sweat? Does the body go into convulsing? Does it go into the same state? When you talk about a person that's having pachad Hashem, a person is having the awe of Hashem's presence, is it the same awe or the same, in a negative expression? Is it the same fear, like when you're walking and you don't know where you're going? And this is what the Baal Shem Tov is trying to say. The Baal Shem Tov is trying to say is that in the highest level of spiritual work and spiritual connection, Hashem gave us a body. And the reason why Hashem gave us a body is because Hashem wants that we should experience the divine through the body. Just like we experience fear or love or lust in the body, we should experience avos Hashem and yiras Hashem the same way. That it shouldn't be an abstract, I love Hashem, yeah, okay, I love. Yes, I'm in awe of Hashem's presence, yes. No, with the same thing that your body goes into convulsion and sweating and is trembling, that's the same experience you should have. So with the same taiva. So what you could do is try to create Now this is dangerous. I wouldn't say you should do this l'chatchila to begin with, to start off, to try to create that and then transform it. But forget about the narrative of love or the narrative of fear. When a person wants to awaken their Avos Hashem, Yiras Hashem, they should try to work with the body. Try to arouse the body into the state of the same type of fear you would exist, that would occur to you when you're in a real dangerous situation. Try to arouse that same feeling. And if you can't arouse the same feeling because you're not in that same situation, so maybe even try to induce that situation by imagining that fear. But do that with intention, not to be stuck there, but then to use that same, and that becomes Yiras Hashem. And the same thing goes with Avos Hashem. Try to create, and maybe it doesn't have to do with creating this situation, because that could be something that can bring a person to descend into not necessarily a good place. But even maybe run, move your body, start shaking, just energize the physical body, clap your hands, create that same physical sensation in the body as if it's a physical thing that you want and you desire, and if it's a physical thing that you have awe, and use that into Avodas Hashem. And that's the highest level of a service to Hashem. The highest level of a Sheidvenu Liboy means that I take the same things that I have, the loves and the lusts, and it could be food, and it could be anything that you have that causes you really big sensations and strong desires, or maybe you're a person that's more in a fear mode that causes you great fear and great anxieties. Use those same things from the heart of who you are, from the cheshek, from the desire of who you are, and make that into a tool, not to transform it, to get out of it. Use that in itself to connect with Hashem. Feel it in the body and feel that connection, and that's the highest level of service. It's the highest level of avodah. Okay. Good Shabbos. So, Baal Shem Tov.